Hey theology guys, it's time to read some absolute relativism. Pause this video and go get your book. All right, hopefully you're back by now. We're going to be on page 20, which is the section on tolerance that I told you about the other day. We're going to read a couple of pages together, and I want you to follow along in your book. Okay? And what I'm going to ask you to do is read along with your pen or pencil. As you can see, possibly on my text, I have underlined some things in the book. For whatever we read, we'll read up through page 23, top of page 23. I want you to underline at least 4 things that you found important to underline. And then don't fall down, our Lord. In a Word document or something that you can put into a Dropbox, you're going to write down, quoting 2 of those things that you will underline. Okay? Good. Page 20. What is tolerance? Tolerance is the one virtue a relativist society seems to value. Purity, piety, temperance, wisdom, and courage are all optional. But tolerance is taught from a young age and is expected of everyone. That would be a good thing if we all knew what tolerance was. Relativists seem to think that tolerance means not strongly disagreeing with anyone on moral or religious issues. In other words, what was previously called disagreement is now often labeled intolerance, or worse. But the irony of calling someone intolerant for saying, "I'm right and you're wrong," is that such a statement is a prerequisite for tolerance. Tolerance is enduring ideas or actions that you don't agree with. For example, if we were all in class here, right, and you were being naughty, right, you were sitting at this chair being naughty because you were doing your Latin homework instead of your theology homework, then if I was in a really engaging lecture, as long as you weren't making any noise and you were just doing your Latin, if the discussion was really engaging, I might tolerate your doing the Latin in order to preserve the more important thing, which is the goodness of the lecture. So tolerance is enduring ideas or actions that you don't agree with. So to be able to tolerate something, you must first have to disagree with or dislike it. No one has ever had to tolerate a beautiful sunny day. No one has to tolerate the rain. He has to tolerate the rain, right? The rain is something we have to tolerate sometimes. Sometimes we pray for it, but often it's just something that's kind of annoying. Intolerance, then, is a refusal to put up with something that you disagree with. Intolerance can be helpful at times. For instance, to preserve public safety, for example, we don't tolerate murder. To preserve the integrity of a specific organization, for example, you'll be fired from your post with the Democratic Party if you're an outspoken Republican. Or to raise children with certain expectations. For example, a good parent won't tolerate a child hitting his siblings. Intolerance can be harmful if it's used to censor ideas, coerce people into agreeing with you, or if it takes the form of violence. When I talk about intolerance in this booklet, I'll be referring to its dark side. Many seem to think that relativism is the only thing that can save the world from this type of intolerance. I'd argue that nothing could be further from the truth. The next heading is, but hasn't relativism proven to help everyone get along in a pluralistic society? Pluralism means multiple kinds of beliefs, right? Pluralistic beliefs. So, hasn't relativism proven to help everyone get along in a pluralistic society? Recent history has shown us that relativists can be more intolerant than those who believe in absolute truth. Take Adolf Hitler, for example, who said, "There is no such thing as the truth, either in the moral or the scientific sense." Hitler's ally, Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy, is another clear-cut example of an intolerant relativist. Early in his political career, he wrote, "Everything I have said and done in these last years is relativism, by intuition, from the fact that all ideologies are of equal value, that all ideologies are mere fictions. This is Mussolini, not me, just quoting him. The modern relativist infers that everybody has the right to create for himself his own ideology and to attempt to enforce it with all the energy of which he is capable. If relativism signifies contempt for fixed categories and men who claim to be the bearers of an objective, moral, immortal truth, then there is nothing more relativistic than fascism. For those of you who are in my philosophy class, gee, this sounds a lot like Thrasymachus. Since Mussolini didn't recognize any higher reality, moral or religious, to which he should conform, he invented his own moral code and enforced it on everyone he could. After all, as long as he was in alignment with his own values, what objective standards did he have to restrain himself with? To be fair, the average relativist wouldn't go as far as Hitler or Mussolini. But the modern world is increasingly full of examples of intolerance for those who believe in objective truth. And he gives a number of examples here. Wow. Regular lawsuits backed by the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, to forcibly squash any mention of God out of the public square, to cater to a few intolerant atheists. The college student in California was threatened with expulsion after she said a prayer for a sick teacher on campus with his consent. Yada yada. You can read the rest on your own. Disagreeing and speaking out is not intolerant. Fining those you disagree with, threatening to force them to act against their conscience, and pushing all signs or expressions of their belief out of the public square is intolerant. The more that relativists gain political power, the less they tend to tolerate those with whom they disagree. Let me read that again. The more that relativists gain political power, the less they tend to tolerate those with whom they disagree. It seems that a new relativist inquisition is underway. And of course, it is being carried out in the name of tolerance. Well, that brings us to the top of page 23 and to the next section, and we're going to stop there. But you can see that it's a very good thing. In the name of a few small minority of people, we often are told what to do. Okay, regular lawsuits that you can't pray in public schools. You cannot condemn certain sins as being sins, etc., because for fear of being intolerant, for fear of the truth. And here we are in a time when knowing the truth is very important. I encourage you all to say your prayers, and I'm going to go get you something to listen to because I think this is worth your hearing. This is the book I did that series on meditation, a mental prayer with you. I don't know if you watched it or not, but I did it with you a couple of days ago. I just want you to read this. Now, this is a meditation about Judas being betrayed by, Jesus being betrayed by Judas with a kiss. And you're asked to consider in your meditation Jesus after his bloody sweat, which has greatly exhausted him, rises from prayer and advances to meet Judas with admirable courage. He goes out to meet Judas, the man he knows he's going to hand him over to be killed. And the first consideration is the courage that Jesus must have had to have. So you might ask yourself this question, my soul, what is the source of this courage in Jesus? Prayer. Prayer is the source of Christ's courage. He just finished praying, right? Prayer it is that has filled his soul with heavenly fortitude, heavenly bravery, and imbued him with strength to triumph over every difficulty in obeying his Father's will. Behold the example which you have to follow. Do you feel any repugnance in overcoming yourself, overcoming your bad habits or difficulties? Do you fear suffering? Do you tremble at the thought of penance? Have recourse to prayer. And then say to your timid, shrinking little heart, arise, let us go to combat our enemies. Let us mortify this passion. Let us pardon that injury. Jesus resisted even to blood in overcoming his difficulties. It is right that we should follow his example. The more constant you are in the practice of virtue, the more easily will you resist temptation. And very speedily, all your sadness and sorrow of heart will be dispelled if you fortify your soul by prayer. If you want to get through all of what's going on with any sort of sanity left, you need to pray. And if you want to do that effectively, hopefully I can make something appear over here and over here that will link you to videos I have done on prayer in general, and then doing a particular meditation from this book. Hope to see you guys tomorrow virtually, and hope to see you in the virtual classroom. Looking forward to it. Cheers.